Hello there. This is going to be another quick one-take video. I wanted to give you guys an update on the A to Z SuperSource pack that I discussed in my last video. The great news is, I don't want to bury the lead, this does work. Or I guess this does work. There are a few things that you should know, but in general, big thanks to A2Z Productions. I've emailed you as well, just so that you'll know this before. Didn't hear back from you, so hopefully by the time this video posts or before, I will have gotten a response. But here are a few things that I think you should know about the pack and what you may or may not see once you try to upload it onto an ATEM Extreme. So first things first, you're going to get a notice that you are not using a constellation, right? Click OK. It's not going to kill anything. It's just loading the macros. That's all that's in the pack. So if you've already preloaded a preset that you already have, your still files for your media player or your media file sources will already be there, along with any other presets that you have other than your macros. Once you do that, then go ahead and save it under some profile name that you create, and you should be good to go. You won't get this message anymore. If you're making other modifications though, I would change when you are in there adapting it. If you're adapting from their code instead of cutting and pasting into something you already have, I would take out the ATEM Constellation 8K as the product and put in product ATEM Mini Extreme, and then you won't get that message at all. So it's just a simple thing. Either way works, just so you know. Moving on, and this is where things get interesting, and these are the two problems that I kind of ran into, and we'll discuss them both. At the bottom, you can see where it says, SuperSource, right? So the SuperSource, if you click one of their macros, it's going to go to preview. It will not activate the SuperSource on your program feed. That was something that I should have noticed when I was playing with it the first night, definitely the second night, but in between family, kids, and everything else, totally overlooked it. When I loaded their pack, I didn't read through their code, and as soon as I did, I knew what I'd done wrong. So sorry for that, A to Z. But it's not in the README file. Definitely make sure that you've engaged your SuperSource button, or it's not actually going to transition. So that's number one. Number two is the foreground background. So we'll address that in just a moment. For now, let's look at what's going on. So right now, we're on one of my presets, and let's try one of theirs. So here's problem number one. If you jump from a preset that has foreground selected and you're just using their code without adapting it, you're going to run into the issue of splitting your image, things not lining up, other great things. So there's a little bit of code that you can put, and then I've just used the color bars since it's already in the ATEM Extreme, but you can do this with code. And let's go back and look really quickly. Here's that code at the top of any of their macros. If you're just going to pick 2 or 3, I would change. I put color bars as the input here. You can change to some other input selection of your choosing. If you want to run, I think they actually had in one of their videos, they were probably using a hyperdeck or something to run something in the background just to give it a little bit of motion, and that's pretty easily done. You also want to have art above in that third column there, or third row. Art above should be false. In my instance, my macros were programmed for it to be true, and they were also programmed to trigger and turn on the SuperSource in the program. So it's a small difference maybe, but it makes a world of difference, right? It's the reason why it didn't work for me. So I would be cognizant of that. Other than that, it's a great program. Thanks again for you guys, for A to Z, for making those available to everyone. It is a real time saver. So that I put this notice here, 30 frames per second. If you look through their macros, there are a number of pauses, which is what creates that kind of smoother transition than what you get with just a hard cut. There are enough pauses that I'm pretty certain, and maybe they can verify this, that they created it for shows that are being streamed at 30 frames per second, which is pretty common, so it makes sense. If you're going to go down to 24 for some reason, streaming bandwidth, whatever, or you're going to go up to 60 higher frame rate, it's not going to look as nice. It's really, I think, designed for 30 frames per second. Maybe those guys can respond and let me know. I would love to verify that. So that's enough about that. I want to also quickly go over a few questions and comments that I've had on prior videos. So, Alahora Maker, hope I pronounced that correctly. Yes, I have lots of monitors. That may be an upcoming video. I've got a few comments on Discord and other places about that. Wanting to know what my setup is and how things go. But your question down below that is, have you tried doing a one-on-one conversation with remote guests commenting on a common source like website or video? Yes, I've definitely done that. Websites are easy. You both pull up the same website. Whatever, things go pretty straightforward. Videos, if you are both trying to watch them, make sure that you both have an in-ear monitor so that you don't hear it back a few seconds late or prior, depending on who started the video first. But it's totally possible. Knowing that the timing is right, I think, is the biggest problem, and knowing that you're not going to get feedback. So that was pretty easy. Let's go to Neville Henderson again. Great questions. Keep those coming, Neville. Oh, this is actually really similar. I'd be interested in the pack. How about a walkthrough of your setup generally, please? Yeah. Also, where did you personally see this new ATEM simplifying and enhancing your workflow? So I think that's a good video, or maybe a live stream. I don't know. Maybe let me know in the comments below, guys, if you'd like to have a live stream so that I can try and read your questions or comments and respond to them directly. That might be easier. In general, I have been using an ATEM Mini ISO, and in addition to that, Pro. So an ATEM Mini Pro, so ganging one on top of the other for various projects, like actually the prior question, when I've been interviewing people, trying to capture multiple channels, send feeds back because it didn't have the two USB-Cs so that I could record one and also use it as a webcam. So that was a great addition right off the bat. I'm still waiting on my Extreme ISO, fingers crossed, but just having this is a big help, right? I could be streaming this out and recording while I'm talking to you guys on a live stream, and then chop it down in smaller bits for reuse later. So I think that alone is worth the upgrade in price from the Mini Pro ISO. If that's what you're looking at getting, I would definitely get the Extreme ISO for the additional, what is it, $400. Outside of that, I think it's just a matter of flexibility and the SuperSource, really. The SuperSource is, I was looking at it for a job in June, upgrading to one of the larger switchers. And this is really, in some ways, if you think about it through the lens of the total cost, it's probably a better deal than the Constellation right now. So that's kind of the short answer to that. But I can do a video if you guys are interested. Let me know, video or live stream. And I think that's the last question I have. So with that, I'm going to wrap this video up. No need to make it any longer, but I'll leave a link to A2Z's video where they go over their pack. And thank you again, guys. Sorry about that. I will say I would not do this. I think, I'm not going to say who, but I saw someone mention that they don't really give out their macros because they need to be specific to the job. If I were going to do something like this, I definitely would not start from scratch. I would use somebody else's. When you have 16 pauses and incremental changes in where each of those boxes are, that is a lot of work. I mean, a lot of work. So big kudos and big thanks to A2Z Productions, and we'll see you next time.